Didn't know much of anything, but I thought I'd come on and just say, Howdy. It's kind of different, but it's football day. So I checked in at Facebook, did that, and then my relatives know that I'm safe and sound. And so I'm going through the group of people that I knew on Facebook and watching some of the favorite little things that I liked. But now I'm on YouTube and I'm just looking from one to another and getting those all caught up. It's amazing how you can get sort of like addicted to YouTube, the channels, watched a bunch of them, and it's been kind of nifty that way. So I enjoy watching them. I've done a lot of roofing and stuff like that in the past few years. More than few years. Say like about 50. That's a long time. Same with fishing. I've been collecting recipes also, ones that I find online, but also been writing down some of the ring balonies and stuff like that that my grandpa taught me. I miss my grandpa the most. And my daddy. November 11th is coming on up. Veterans Day. So it's a little hard to go through that day. Daddy was a vet. I was a vet. My son's a vet. I had several uncles that were vets. So those are some of the guys that I remember quite a bit about. My Aunt Louise, when she got married, made her wedding dress out of the parachute that her husband to be, Howie, had used over in France, in Germany. He he was a good parachuter. So coming right down to it, there's a lot that I have stored up in my memory. I got a lot stored up in there. My Aunt Louise and Uncle Howie. Um, I remember for my oh, it wasn't a bachelorette party because men were there. It was a bridesmaid, uh, a bride's thing, and I got gifts when I was going to get married to my husband to be. But afterwards, it was all pretty much relatives. My Aunt Joanne, Uncle Jim, and Aunt Louise and Uncle Howie were there, and they got bombed. Yeah, they lived in the Twin Cities. I remember Uncle Howie pushing Aunt Louise's butt into the car. It was funny. Hi, Nicole. How you doing? But they they were going to drive drunk. I'm doing pretty good. I'm I'm kind of happy go lucky right now. Going back in time, remembering different things. And when Uncle Howie pushed Aunt Louise's butt into the back of the vehicle, I thought they shouldn't be driving like that. But he says, I gotta work tomorrow. And I thought that was so funny. I mean, my mom and dad were both bombed to the point where I was glad that they all slept on the first floor, my mom and dad. But it's just little things like this that you remember little by little. And I've had them all collected up in my brain. I wrote several books, and those are all out in paperback. And those are going from the West Coast to the East Coast now. And I'm not afraid to, it's all under a different name, not my name at all. But it's a way of showing other kids, teenagers, how to live their life and to be able to grow up. I mean, I know a lot of live chats or uh, YouTube channels don't have anything political, but I came from a political family, and I was raised that way. I had no way about it. It was to be kind and considering and caring to everybody. And my dad taught me that you pay it forward. So I was his one person that he could always rely on in in the realm of going out in a convention to go and memorizing the people's faces, memorizing their names, what they talked about, and then coming back and telling dad about what it was all about. But I just told him, and I knew I was going to get a piece of candy or maybe a good fishing vacation afterwards. We would always go up north to this one resort, and it was fun. We would go for 2 weeks at a time, and there was no stopping what would go on. I mean, I was always out there fishing all the time, but I remember one night the radio was blaring and us girls were trying to sleep, and lo and behold, I got up and there was my grandpa. He was still alive, and my dad. They were dancing in the big room. And I just thought, oh, they've had way too much to drink. So I got one of my other sisters and we walked down to the other end of the resort and told Grandma and Aunt Betty that Grandpa, and Dad were dancing together. But you gotta admit, that's pretty cool, huh? But you just sort of remember things back and forth. I know I've got a lot of stuff, but I don't think I'll be on too long if I'm on half an hour. You take care, Nicole. Like, hit that bell, subscribe. I know I come on, I've got other videos, okay? I love you. You take care, kiddo. Take care of Bluebird Beard. But I I did a lot of stuff and oh, I was on that resort from the age of 11 until, oh, jeez, I'm in my 70s now. But it was it was something. When my daughter, when she turned 70 in 1974, she had her first birthday up there. She got a Raggedy Ann and Andy pail, sand pail to play with, and she thought that was just really something. We had the main birthday in cabin 2. There was 8 cabins there. That was fun. And then my son, when he had his first birthday, we got on up there and he got to blow his first candle on out in one of those cabins. We always made sure of that. To this day, my son still goes on up to that cabin, or not the cabins, but the lake. It's a nice sized lake. I know where the bass are, the crappies, the sandbars are. So it's quite unique to go on up there to see them, to see the pine trees where the horseshoe pit is. That is fun. My son actually bought about 8 years ago a great big huge birdhouse that used to be up there at the cabin. It was called Rest a While Resort. My grandma and grandpa used to stay up there. My mom and dad, I did, and my children. My daughter hasn't except for when she was a teenager. But she grew up from, oh, age 0 to 16, and we would always reserve our cabin the same day that we would be entering it to stay for that summer. We would put down for the next year right away. I worked my butt off just to get on up there. And I got to know the resort owners really good. Breedies were really good to us. Oh, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Jean was real nice to me. I would go and she would say to me, "And Linda, I have got to wake up at 10 o'clock tonight so I can watch the weather." And I would be sewing because it'd be dark outside, and I would always take my sewing machine on up there and do quilts. And I would see her light on, and I'd always set the timer for about 9:45. And then I'd walk on over to the main cabin. I knew how to get in there. And I would let myself in there, and she would be zonked out in her recliner. She had cancer pretty bad, but I was always watching out for her. And I would sit and I'd watch the TV going for a little bit because I rarely ran my TV in the cabin. But 10 o'clock would come along and I'd look at my watch and yep, it was time to wake up Jeannie. And I'd wake her up and I'd say, "It's time to wake up and watch the weather, Jeannie." And she'd go, "Oh, did I doze off and go to sleep?" And I'd go, "Yeah, the puppies and the kitties kept me company, though." And that was just really something. We'd watch the weather and I would make sure she'd get ready for bed safe and sound. And then I'd go on out and I would see her in the big kitchen window watching me walk on over to cabin 1. That was the only cabin that had a fireplace in it. She always gave me a reduced rate. For 2 weeks, I could stay in there for $250. That was a steal. But if it rained and stormed outside, I was always there to help her bail out the boats, take care of the shoreline. And if I caught way too many fish, wink, wink, I would always say, "Hey, Jeannie, have you had supper yet?" And she'd go, "No, I haven't." I'd go, "Well, I've got a lot of fish, and I've got potato salad and coleslaw to have. Would you like to come over and have some with me?" And she'd go, "Yeah." And then I taught her how to make the breakfast that my grandpa taught me about fish, sunfish. You put the skin side on down, and you wait until it turns white, the flesh of the fish. And yeah, then you crack a couple of eggs and you stir it around, and that's a meal that'll last you for a good 3, 4 hours, or maybe until supper time. Grandpa taught me how to make that, and he came from Germany. Grandpa taught me how to do a lot of stuff. Taught me how to butcher cows and pigs, and how to make ring bologna. I never got to learn how to make liverwurst from him. That's a lost art. I do know that. You boil the liver first, but I can remember my grandpa standing at my mom and dad's stove, and he told my mom, write it down how I'm doing it and all of the spices that I'm putting in. And I know he ground the liver afterwards. So there's certain things that he did that I don't really remember, because I think I was working on a Christmas gift. But oh, Grandpa was something else. He could scoot around a corner of a kitchen, and then all of a sudden you'd be coming along and he'd go boom at you and make you jump like everything. He loved doing that to us 4 girls. He had other grandchildren too, but we were the closest ones to him. So it was funny. But he passed away the February after John F. Kennedy passed away. And yeah, it's something. But I I miss him, and I miss my grandma. She was German and Dutch. I never met her mom or her dad. They both passed away early in life. She never really got to meet. She met her mom and dad, but she never got to know them that well. She wasn't a teenager with them. She was raised by her grandma. So you see, things are going back to the time of life of when the flu was, the Spanish flu, or whatever it was, the black flu, black plague. Getting it kind of mixed up. I know they died when everybody was quarantined in the 1914s, that kind of flu. And it was really something. But great grandma Schlegelmilch, she was the one who raised my grandma, great Uncle Charles, and then there was great Aunt Roan, and she was really small in height, but she showed us how to slide on plums. We had a plum tree that was next door to us when I was a kid. And my mom used to tell us girls, don't you go out there and slide on those plums. You stay away from those plums. You know you'll track it in the house. But lo and behold, we'd go out there and slide on them. Sometimes we'd end up on our butt. We'd have plum juice all over our bottom of our feet and our legs. It was funny, but I grew up by a university and it was fun. We had different people that came from different countries. There was one group of guys that used to stay next door to us. They used to go down to the river and catch fish. And I mean, it was the smelliest fish in the whole wide world, but they would bring them back and they'd hang them on up in the porch, the screened in porch on the second level. And oh, the cats would come out at night and meow. It was hilarious because we could hear them all night long. And my mom used to get so mad. She'd go, shut up. But it's just a little bit of different things that I learned in my lifetime. And I thought, well, I was feeling pretty good. I don't drink, I don't smoke. The only time I ever smoked was when I would go out fishing. I'd always take a box of Swisher Sweets with me in case the fishing was good. Then, if the bugs and the skeeters were bad, then I'd light up a Swisher Sweet because it was about the only thing that I could think of carrying with me. I'd have it in my tackle box. And I would puff on that and blow it up around my head or down below the ankles to get rid of the horse flies or the head. No skeeters for me, no horse flies, but the fishing was good. And I'd be pulling them in left and right. I wasn't going to leave that spot for nothing. No skeeters or flies were going to get me. So it was fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. But I just sort of figured, well, I'd come in, chit chat for half an hour. I could probably talk to a fence post. I'm an introvert and an extrovert. I can go up amongst on a stage and give a speech and be as jovial as I am right now. But then there's times I want my quiet time too, just me, myself, and I. But I see I'm ready to log off, so I'll say good night. See you later. Don't do anything I'd do, okay? You take care out there. Bye bye.